This is one way to look at photographs. These are chemical images transferred to paper. Another way is to take digital images and display them on a monitor. Now, using that system, I can scan through the pictures just like I would in my photo album. Once I get to a picture I like, I can stop it, take a full-frame view of that picture. When that comes up, I can actually manipulate this image in a variety of ways. Also, if I'm interested in cropping the photo, I can bring up a picture frame and move that frame around on the screen and decide exactly what part of the picture I want in my final frame. I can also take the output of that system and, using software like this on my PC or Macintosh, do some sophisticated photo enhancement work. This Kodak Photo CD system is just the tip of the iceberg in a whole new field of computer-based photography. Today we'll take a look at electronic photography on this edition of the Computer Chronicles.
Computer Chronicles is brought to you in part by Intel, microprocessor technology for the software of today and tomorrow. Intel, the computer inside. Additional funding is provided by the Software Publishers Association, providers of educational materials to help manage software. Don't copy that floppy.
Welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stuart Chaffee, and with me today is Tim Baharin,
Hi.
President of Creative Strategies. Tim, I'm going to take your picture with this camera for a minute, if I may. Okay, what I just did is use this DaVinci digital camera. It's different from some of the early digital cameras. There's no little floppy disks in here. It records the image in RAM and has its built-in printer, so in fact you get the picture coming right out of the camera. And since the image is in digital memory here, I can print out 20 copies of this thing if I want. Really interesting. Lots of power functions in here too, in which I can do zooms and manipulate the images inside the device. While this is printing out, it takes about 60 seconds. Let me ask you, this area of digital photography, is this threatening to old-fashioned chemical photography in the same way camcorders essentially put home movies out of business?
Well, there's no question that digital photography is one of the hot issues in photo imaging right now, and you're going to see this become more important over the next couple of years. I'm not sure that the chemical guys and the guys that do the actual printouts right now have to worry about much in the short term, but eventually it is very clear that when you're going to be able to do these instant images, and especially the ability to print them out either through this type of a printer in the camera or in a different device, it's going to be a much more important product. The other thing that makes this exciting is that I can actually send that digital image to Grandma in Paducah, Kentucky, and that's where I think it has its greatest potential.
Okay, and here's the picture you would send to your grandma. It took 60 seconds. It's out there. Not a bad likeness of you, Tim.
That's right.
Okay, and we'll print another one for your grandma.
Okay.
All right, today we'll look at several approaches to electronic photography with products for the amateur and the professional. Now, what we've seen so far, this DaVinci digital camera, the Kodak Photo CD system, are really consumer products, but professional photographers are also using digital photography now, and perhaps the most complete collection of high-end digital photography equipment can be found at the Center for Electronic Art in San Francisco.
Alexis Girard is Director of Digital Photography for the Center for Electronic Art, but much of his work is done here at his private research lab in Burlingame, California.
What I'm doing in my lab is really prototyping, in a sense, the future of photography, which is, what I do for my clients, for my readers, for the people who attend my workshops. I'm pushing the envelope of how photography is going to get done.
Images are digitized by using photo CDs through the use of a digital camera, such as this Kodak DCS-200, or by scanning in 35mm film. Then the computer becomes the focal point in the process. Girard says the advantages of electronic photography are increasing, and not only for professionals.
The people who like to do the highly manipulated stuff will find it easier to do so with a computer, and they're flocking to the computer in droves. But ultimately, the people who want to do straight photography will also find that it benefits them.
Information on shutter speed and ISO setting is displayed along with the image. The digital camera captured this photo at 1.4 million pixels, compared to 10 million pixels for 35mm film. The image is enhanced with software, then emerges from a proof-positive printer ready for application.
If you look at it from a photographer, you know f-stops and ISO numbers, and now all of a sudden people are throwing megahertz and DPI and all of that stuff at you. And how do you make sense of all of this is what I think is really important for everybody, for users to benefit from the transition, and for manufacturers to be able to really sell their products to users.
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Jonelle Patterson.
Too dark, use flash. I don't really want to take your picture, by the way, Herb. I just wanted to use this camera, this Minolta camera here, as
If you want to do photo enhancing on your computer, you have to get the picture into your computer first. Here to show us two ways of doing that are Michael Solomon of LightSource Computer Images and also with us Serge Timoshev of Logitech. Let's begin with the Photoman Plus, which is the new version of Photoman, and show us how you use this, Serge.
Well, why don't you take a photograph?
Sure. Can I take your picture, Michael?
Sure.
Okay, so I'll get you in the viewfinder there. Got it? Okay, what do we do now?
Okay, we put the camera back into...
Okay, but before you get into that, now, what's different about this new Plus version from the old Photoman?
Well, we've enhanced the ergonomics, we've enhanced the hardware, and we've enhanced the software. So there are a number of capabilities. For example, the download time is much quicker for an individual photograph. And the flash is enhanced. You can get additional lenses. There's a number of capabilities that we've changed with the camera.
So you've moved the pictures into the PC now.
Right, so this is sort of a little contact sheet of images, and we see the thumbnails of the pictures in the camera, and we can just double-click on the image we want.
So number 4 is the one I just took.
Right, that you just took. Down here at the bottom, it shows us our battery time. We have some other capabilities, so if we want to flush the images that are on the camera away, it can hold up to 32. So this image is now in PhotoTouch.
And there it is.
And we can do a couple of things. We can crop it. We can increase the sharpness.
So we can fix my soft focus problem there.
Right, and we can zoom in all the way down to the pixel level. So if there was a little shiny spot, we could touch it up with a little bit of digital makeup, or we could do whatever we need to enhance the image to make it the way we want to have it. And then we could actually just very simply copy it, go into another application, let's say a Mi Pro, a word processor, and we could paste it right here. And there it is, desktop published right on the fly.
What kind of applications are people in fact using Photoman for?
Well, aside from the standard desktop publishing application, certain specific industries are really interested in Photoman, such as insurance, for example, where people go out in the field and do work.
Documenting accidents.
Right. A real estate person, for example, could take pictures of a new house, go back to the office, desktop publish it into a little flyer for someone, or send it over a modem to another real estate office. Security. There are a number of police departments in the country that can take a photograph immediately and send it across the country to other people that may need to look at it.
And the software here that you were showing us, that comes bundled with the Photoman, or you buy that separately?
Yes, no. The software comes with it, the image editing software and the acquisition software.
Okay, so you can do your usual image editing and enhancements, the kind of things you showed us.
Exactly.
And sort of what's the price range? I know this is just coming out now, the Photoman
Right,
Plus.
the current Photoman is $899, and this should be in the same range with the street price several $100s under that.
Okay, Michael, let's turn to you now. If I don't have a Photoman, but I just have a picture, and I still want to do the same kinds of things, then I suppose I can use your system, OPhoto?
Right. OPhoto is a software package that drives many of the current scanners that are on the marketplace, typically flatbed scanners. And it allows you to get images into all kinds of documents that you might already have.
In terms of the applications, Michael just showed me this before, and I thought you might see. I mean, what's over here is the typical report you might have done in the old days just using your word processor. And over here is what it looks like once you scan photos in, and it's a pretty dramatic difference in communicating. Can we do an example and show me how you use OPhoto to do the same kind of thing by scanning in an image? Now, can I set up a problem for you?
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, I'm doing a report and I need a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Okay.
And the only thing I can find is this crummy looking postcard, which has a lot of junk I don't want on it, and the colors are kind of funky. It's sort of yellow and green.
Right.
Could I use this and do the same thing sort of?
Absolutely. Let's put it on this
okay,
Apple.
So I just scan it in.
Color one
just lay it
scanner.
in there. Okay.
Put it in there. So and you didn't pay any attention to how you put it on. You just sort of dropped it on there. The first thing I do in OPhoto is I tell the program what is my output device. And for today, since we're on television, we're going to use this Apple Color display. After that, I just hit the auto scan button. Now, the image that you put on the scanner was a postcard, which has been printed. Typically, when you scan printed images, you'll find that you get what's called a moire pattern, which are these funny wavy little lines. You see these all the time. One of the strengths of OPhoto, one of the powerful things it does is it automatically eliminates the moire pattern during the scanning process. Doesn't have to know what kind of image it was at all.
So here we're scanning it right now, and there it is.
We're now doing...
And I put it in kind of slanty there.
Yeah, it's a little crooked, but we now are doing a low-resolution pre-scan of the platen, trying to find the image. And we have found it, and we determined that it's a color photograph automatically. So we can figure out, is it a photo, is it a grayscale photo, is it a piece of line art, whatever it is, we can figure that out automatically. Once we do that and we found where the image is, we come back and we do a high resolution scan, which is what you're about to see begin right now.
We see it coming up right now.
And it's about to start scanning at high resolution, and you'll see the image.
So it's literally scanning it a second time. It scans it first to figure out what it is it's looking at.
Exactly.
And then does the real scan once it's set its parameters?
Right. And what it's done is it's figured out exactly what the DPI should be based on the output device and the bit depth, all of these complicated things.
I mean, you haven't touched a button here this whole time.
It's been operating all by itself.
All right, what could we do? Now we have it scanned in.
It's scanned in, except it's a little crooked, and the program is actually straightening itself right now.
Now, how did it know to do that?
It actually finds the edge of the photograph and straightens it, and the last thing it does is crop away the white space. Now, I could be done, but what I might want to do with this...
so I don't want all the junk. I just want the picture of the bridge.
Yeah, and you're probably going to put it in like a newsletter or something.
Yeah, I'd like to then paste it in a column in a space I've already preserved inside my document.
Well, let's say that's a 4-inch wide space, so I type in 4, and then I come over and I choose the area that I want to have.
Okay,
and
so you're selecting just the photo.
I selected just that area, and I chose crop and resize, and very quickly it's actually going to scale the image up so that it will now stretch it out to fit into a 4-inch wide column. The only other thing I might want to do with this
What about
image,
the color problem?
Right, because when they printed that postcard, they added a little cast to it.
Yeah.
The program, by just hitting the suggest button in the correct color dialog, can actually remove that cast.
So again, you're not telling it what kind of color correction to make. It's analyzing the colors and saying, this is wrong, here's how I'd fix it.
Exactly.
Wow.
So here I can undo that real quickly so you can see the difference. That's the old.
That's the old, yeah.
And there's the new. We're done.
That is pretty neat. Okay, now this is just software, the OPhoto package?
Yes, the OPhoto software, which has a list price of $399, a standalone, or ships with the new color Apple One scanner, which is about $1,300.
That's great, guys. Thank you very much.
Okay.
In the news business, you have to move photos very quickly if they're going to make it into the morning paper. Well, digital photography has been a great solution for that problem. And one of the leaders in digital news photo work is the Philadelphia Inquirer.
You won't find photographers in a dark room at the Philadelphia Inquirer. After their film is shot, processing is entirely electronic. Computers are used for cropping, color balance, dodge and burn, and delivery to the editor's desk.
The quality of a scanned image is really pretty good. Economically, of course, we aren't buying printing paper anymore. We aren't dealing with the chemistry that we use to process printing papers.
The Inquirer invested in the Phoenix system, an integrated hardware-software package developed by former AP photographer Dave Tenenbaum. Desktop units are networked, and 2 portable units with high-speed modems allow same-day delivery of color photos from locations such as a Phillies game 1,000 miles away.
The system as it stands now uses a Nikon high-resolution scanner that's an external device, along with the Dolce lunchbox size PC, which has a built-in color screen, and add in a mouse, and that's pretty much the entire system. What's coming down the road and what we have prototypes of is Nikon's done a complete 35mm film scanner that's the size of a 5¼ inch disk drive, and it will actually fit inside the Dolce, and it will be just this one lunchbox size device, and you sling that over your shoulder and run on the plane and go cover a story.
The Phoenix software does not include graphic cloning tools because in the newspaper business, credibility is the bottom line.
In the graphics world, it may be cute and interesting to put a third eye on somebody's forehead. In this world, it is unspeakable. It's the last thing you can afford to do. So what we do is design and implement a feature set that is very analogous to what people can do in a conventional darkroom and supports the things that people are used to doing and absolutely does not allow things that would degrade the credibility of the image.
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Jonelle Patterson.
One of the main benefits of digital photography is the ability to do photo enhancement on a personal computer. Here to show us 2 different approaches to electronic photo enhancement are Glenn Schuster of the U.S. Satellite Laboratory in Laurel, Maryland, and also with us John Peck of Adobe Systems. Glenn, you have a kind of exotic system here in which we can actually bring down satellite photos into a PC or a Mac and then play with them inside there. Is that right?
That's right, and one of the best things is that the imagery is free. There's no licensing involved. Once you set up with a ground station, you can continue to bring in the imagery. Now, it comes in off of an antenna or a satellite dish. When the antenna brings in an FM signal, it goes through a box like this, and the live sound sounds like that.
So that'd be the sound of the signal coming down?
It's the sound of the satellite.
Right,
it's then
right.
digitized,
Okay.
and it goes onto the screen, both the PC or the Macintosh platform.
Okay, so all I need, I have to get a little FM receiver like this.
An FM receiver.
Maybe you can turn our satellite off for a second.
With a complete system.
Yeah. Okay, now show us what you would do. You've got two systems here, one running on a PC, one on the Macintosh, and this is called WeatherFax.
This is the GTI WeatherFax system. I'll bring up an infrared image because that's one of the types of imagery that you can bring up live.
Okay.
Some of the things you can do.
So that's an image I would have pulled down through my FM receiver.
The resolution is 4 kilometers by 4 kilometers. It takes about 8 minutes to bring in a full picture.
Okay, and what can I do with it?
Well, you can quickly reference latitude and longitudinal points so you know exactly where you're looking.
So that's the East Coast of the United States, I take it?
East Coast, right off the coast onto Nantucket. I'll go to Chesapeake Bay.
And what are we doing here?
Great application for the marine industry is if you want to know where the fish are, you just go to the Gulf Stream. We're putting latitude and longitudinal lines on the image now. This is an infrared picture. One of the other great enhancement tools you can use is color with these particular systems. And
so it's a black and white photo as it comes down to us, but you can use the coding to put color in there.
That's right, 256 shades of gray, and you can see the Gulf Stream. On the Macintosh platform.
Yeah, what's on here?
This is also an infrared picture, but it's from a geostationary satellite. You use a dish for that.
Okay.
We can zoom in on a picture.
This is the same kind of weather picture we'd see on the news, right?
That's right, except now with this type of imagery, you don't have to pay per picture.
Right.
You can just have the imagery
so
in
you
your own.
zoomed into the coast of Florida, and this is Hurricane Andrew?
Right. It'll be an exclusive ground station. We can put some color, as the infrared picture is basically showing us cloud temperatures with height.
So you're creating, what, a color palette that will map temperatures?
That's exactly right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to color the coldest cloud tops red.
Okay.
And I do that by painting.
Uh-huh.
And I can add to that, and I'll know also exactly what temperature each particular pixel is with the cloud, which is also invaluable data. The neat thing is also the application in education. You can do, our company does hands-on program training with teachers and makes them comfortable with the imagery in the classroom.
So you could use this stuff in a school environment, or if you just want to have fun and bring down your own weather pictures.
When the live picture is overhead, and the kids hear that, it's very exciting as the picture scrolls up onto the screen.
That's right. All right, that's terrific. Now you could take your images I've taken and put it into something like John's Photoshop.
Other applications, you save it in a particular file format.
All right, John, you've got a new version of Adobe Photoshop version 2.5, and what are the new features you've put in it?
A lot of new features. Basically, we have new ways to make it easier for people to get power work done, and tools that allow you to really prepare an image, a color image, before you go to press. A special tool called Variations we have in there.
All right, let's run through Photoshop 2.5 and show us some of the new things you can do.
With pleasure. Actually, I've got the program running up here now. I can actually drop back to a stage where I'm allowed to bring in images, everything from black and white to full color scenes. And this new tool I'll show you works beautifully on, say, a still life, like this boat here. It's perfect. Photoshop allows me to study the image in greater detail, zoom in and see portions. A lot of times people have been struggling with ways to select areas to do work. Well, we've got a menu here called Paths, and it allows me to go in and start drawing smooth Bezier curves right out of Adobe Illustrator and chain together a sequence of these curves to trace out anything. It makes perfect sense because that way you can save the path away, call it back at some other time, step back, and really be sure it's what you want.
So you really now define the boat as a piece of thing you can work with or not work with.
Exactly, either the overall image or just a portion of it. Here, let me take and make that particular path into a selection very quickly, easily, and now do some creative work with it. We'll say, for example here, let me stop and just take a close look. I'm going to want to do work on just the inside of this boat, and for people who haven't had a chance to practice with Photoshop, a new tool called Quick Mask allows me to mask away the outside areas, leaves exactly what I can operate on in clear color. Or better still, if I want to start doing an effect, why not just go in Here I'll say leave the boat alone, but let me apply some filter to the outside, maybe to soften and blur, or apply a Gaussian blur like we show here.
So we just want to play around with the background and not the boat.
Exactly, exactly. In this
And
case,
you can actually do that by having outlined it. Yeah.
we're applying a Gaussian electronic filter. We're saying make everything in the background soft
And there it is.
slightly out of focus.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Just changes the mood entirely.
Okay, what else can we do in terms of, actually working with painting on top of and augmenting the photos we have in there?
That's a great question. In fact, let me open an image and show you a couple other tools that make a lot of sense here. A lot of people use Photoshop not to just retouch live images, but to do original creative painting. And there are windows in here now in Photoshop 2.5 that let me describe exact colors, for example, as well as brush sizes. You'll see some wonderful menus that just make perfect sense the first time out the chute. In essence, I pick up a dab of color, like bright green. I choose a spot size of brush, and then I go and I say, okay, let me paint onto my image playfully. I can either fool around like this or do something very useful by just saying, let me draw a tracing of the actual image, maybe save that away as a path. And here I'm going to show you something really remarkable. If I call up a path, and I'll push some of these menus out of the way so we can watch along with me as I do the operation, I'm going to be able to go in and ask the computer to do some work. I'll say, stroke that path electronically for me. Don't make me forced to work and draw everything. You do the labor for me. Here we go, and it just does it itself.
Great. All right, what about things like correcting the errors in the original photograph, color correction kinds of things, which are one of the values of having something like Photoshop?
Exactly. A lot of people get to the stage where they need to print it out, and they want to be sure it's perfect. Well, there's one other image that would make a perfect illustration of that. I have an image of some people. This is a case very often the effect, you can't recreate it, you can't stage it. If someone's captured in a moment of conversation or
but you didn't get it the way you wish you'd gotten it.
Exactly. Maybe the wrong film or daylight conditions. We have a new particular feature called variations. It allows me to go in and say, computer, give me some quick thumbnails, some postage-sized little images that can be reproduced. And then let me experiment with the way that I could add more yellow or some other color directly to that underlying scene and get it modified in some way. You can darken, lighten, really set it up until it looks the way you'd like it to be. And then when you're satisfied, you simply click OK, and it applies the change overall.
Now, what about working on a piece of the picture?
Great. We noticed earlier we could zoom in. We could study great detail. Here's a case where maybe two people are not in the same exposure.
Exactly. Different light on the two faces.
Exactly. So here, there's a brand new tool called Dodge and Burn, and it allows me to simply go in and say, lighten up this face. Let me scrub across the front portion of it without changing the colors. Just lighten it up in tone. Or if I hit my Alt key, I can go in and darken another corresponding face. Make them more of a matched pair.
That's pretty impressive. We're looking at the Mac version. You have a Windows version coming out just about now that does essentially the same features?
Exactly. We brought all the features, the exact same feel and look and behavior on both platforms.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Two very impressive products. That is our look at electronic photography. Stay tuned now for this week's Computer News on Random Access.
In the Random Access file this week, the highlight of this week's Macworld Expo in Boston was the long-awaited official introduction of Apple's personal digital assistant called Newton. The handheld communications and computing device launches Apple into a critical new product line. We'll have a detailed report on the just-announced Newton in next week's program. Microsoft says Windows NT is on its way. Manufacturing has begun 30 days ahead of schedule. The new advanced operating system will ship in late August. Several hardware manufacturers have announced they will be bundling NT and the NT Advanced Server on their high-end machines. Next up, this week's software review with Paul Schindler of Windows Magazine, provided courtesy of CMP Publications.
Today, we'll look at a Macintosh package that helps you organize your thoughts and generate new ideas. It's called Inspiration. There are several packages like this on the market. This one is the most visual and self-explanatory. Open the outline tutorial and you have a choice of views, the unfamiliar diagram as well as the familiar text and outline. The diagram gives you a visual look at the relationship of ideas. You can drag and drop ideas, changing their spatial relationship to each other. The on-screen toolbar allows you to zoom in and zoom out by pushing the buttons at the bottom. If you click on an item in the diagram, then switch back to the outline view, the same item is still highlighted. To link two ideas, you click once on the object, then again on the diamond-shaped handle. Then you can draw a line connecting it to another idea. Under File Open, you can find templates that include flowcharts, goals, letters, meeting memos, organization charts, and project planning. Inspiration is $300 from Inspiration Software in Portland, Oregon. For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Paul Schindler.
If you're a PowerBook user, 5th Generation Systems has just announced DiskLock PB, the new password utility that provides software and hardware security for the Macintosh PowerBook. Suggested retail price is $59. If you're thinking about the new HP OmniBook Super Portable, Pac-Rim has just announced a tiny portable floppy drive that works with the OmniBook. The P35 weighs just 1 pound and can be connected without rebooting the computer. That's it for this week's Computer Chronicles. I'm Janelle Stelson.